So what is going on, guys? This is Taste and I am back, and according to how many times I've accidentally deleted this commentary, I am rusty as fuck. But nevertheless, I'll try and get into what I'm talking about. And the first thing is first, I am now the YouTube manager of Endeavour Gaming, and for the 6th time I nearly said media manager for Endeavour Gaming because that's what I used to be. However, media dispersed, or split up, which is what I was originally going to say, into YouTube and GFX, but I don't do any GFX, so I'm the YouTube manager, and my staff is Sino and WKTH, and they are the people that do all of my recording. So if you need anything recorded, you need to talk to one of those two, or use the Submit My Gameplay thread, which I will link in the description. The thread's obviously on the Endeavour Gaming forums, and other than that, there's nothing to say about that. So the gameplay you're currently watching is Chaos playing Hardpoint on Hijacked, which I'd like to think I've got right the amount of times I've said it and then checked it and then said it and then checked it again, because I don't actually own Black Ops 2, so as most of you know, what things are is a little bit alien to me, but I've played Modern Warfare 3 obviously. I know a good Call of Duty gameplay when I see one, and this is certainly one of those, so I'll let that play in the background while I talk about what I was going to talk about in this commentary mainly, which is the education system and the lies we're told sort of pre-20, I guess, because I'm nearly 21 now, my 21st birthday is coming up pretty soon, and everyone's like, well, it's your 21st birthday, what are you going to do? Like, it's such a massive milestone in your life, it's the biggest birthday you're ever going to have, and all of this nonsense, and I'm like, no, it's not. But if people consider it to be that much, you know, I'd like to think I'd achieved something in that time. Like, even if it's just sort of the stepping stones into something better, you know, which made me think, you know, what I've done in my life so far is education. It's what you've been told to do, isn't it? Like, once you're a kid, you're always told, you know, work hard at school, stay in school, make sure you do really well in school, like, really try for it. And, you know, primary school I did, secondary school I mostly did. You know, the amount of effort I put in deteriorated as I realised I needed less, to be honest. But, you know, I tend to be happy with fairly average results, but I normally do pretty well. And for the majority of this, I'm going to use the British education system, so I'd probably better explain that quickly. You go to primary school when you're 4, and then you finish that when you're 10 or 11. I honestly couldn't tell you which one it is, and I can't be bothered to work it out. And then you go into secondary school, and then when you're 16 you do your first major exams for your first set of qualifications, which are GCSEs, and then over the next 2 years you do your second set of qualifications, which are A-levels. These are now compulsory, but when I did them they were optional, but pretty much everyone did them. I say pretty much because it's like, it was probably 70%, possibly higher, of people did your A-levels, and you do that in a sixth form, which most secondary schools have, so I stayed in the same one, and then after that you do your degree at university, which is what I'm currently doing. I'm currently redoing my second year because I had a load of stuff go on the first time I did my second year, which made me balls it up completely, so I'm not going to go into that, I very rarely do. So, currently redoing my second year, which made me think 2 years ago was my first year of university, and at the end of my first year of university I got over 70% average, which means that that year would have been a first year degree, other than the fact that year doesn't actually count to my score, but if it did, or if I carried on at that performance level, I'd have a first year degree, which is sort of the highest thing I can get for my age, which means I could then go and try and get a job with that, and I'd have a piece of paper that goes, hey, I'm shit hot at economics, here's the proof. And to be honest, I'm not. Like, that would be a complete lie. I'm not that good at economics at all, but I do enjoy it. I like the methodology behind it, I like thinking about it and things like that, and I can do it. Ish. So, but I'd have this piece of paper that said I was absolutely amazing, and because of what the piece of paper is and what it says, an employer would believe it. So, on the basis of what we've all been told, like, that will get me a job. It won't, obviously, because once you get close to the point where you're looking for a job, you realise the obvious, which is a little trap that everyone gets in and everyone complains about and everyone tells you about, but it's true nonetheless, which is I can't get a job because I've got no work experience, because I can't get a job because I've got no work experience, because I can't get a job because I've got no work experience, so on and so forth. And it becomes a real problem, it becomes very frustrating, and until you do it you don't realise how frustrating it is. But you can probably get a good idea, but it's just, oh my god, it annoyed me so much, because you can go somewhere and you can go, You know, I've been told since I was a kid that education's really, really important. It's all I've really done. And, you know, here's all the GCSEs that I've got. I was told they were extremely important when you're 16 because the first big exams you do, you're told that these are some monumental achievement in your life that will be there forever as a standprint into what you did, what you can do, and all of this. And it's just not. No one gives a shit what GCSEs you've got. All your GCSEs ever did for you was qualify you for A-levels. You only needed a B in a subject to continue it, or a B in a vaguely related subject to go into one that wasn't available at GCSE. Like to do an A-level in economics, I needed a B in maths. And, you know, except for history, because history was just a fact machine to me. Like, you just had to recall so many facts. You just had to know absolutely everything about everything for history. I could never do it because I'm not really good at any subjects. I'm really good at short recall. I can look at something for a few hours or a few days if it's quite a lot of stuff, and then a couple of days later I can just recall all of it and just tell you everything about it, and then a couple of weeks afterwards I'll have forgotten it. Like, that's how I get good marks, because I can pass exams like that. I don't know the stuff. I mean, maybe that's because of the attitude I'm taking, maybe that's because of the way I'm taking exams. I'm never going to know this stuff, but it doesn't change the fact that at the end I've got the results of someone who does know all of this stuff, and when it comes to trying to get a job, trying to achieve what we've done all of this stuff for, I'm just as likely as anyone else to do anything. I mean, it's pretty unmeasurable. You can't put a unit to it or compare it in percentages, or sort of say if someone's got this and someone else has got this person is exactly twice as likely to get a job as this other person. I mean, it doesn't quite work like that. But at the same time, if we both go in there with no work experience and these A-levels or these GCSEs, this degree, like, we're exactly as likely to get the job. We'll have to go into an interview, and I tend to be pretty good with interviews. I don't have the best personal first impression, but when it comes to writing statements and things like that, I tend to be really good at it. And which is weird because I hate talking about myself. I hate sort of analysing myself and things like that. But when someone goes, sort of asks you questions, or you know sort of what you have to say about things, I'm really good at being able to word things out and put them into something which really convinces someone that I have key characteristics that are good for things. So I'm hopefully going to be reasonably far ahead with things like that. But the point more to it is, we've been lied about this sort of usefulness of these exams, like the GCSEs, no one cares. And I could get a B so easily in pretty much anything except history, as I say, because I was terrible at history, because there's far too many things to recall. Like, you can't just sort of go, I know who won all of these wars, and as a result, I can just work out everything else that happened, like they are. Like, you can't do that. Whereas with maths, you know, like, you memorise a few formulae and just manipulate them around for a little bit, you'll get the rest of it. You know, you'll pick most of it up. It's the same with most of the subjects that I took at those sort of situations. Even sort of geography to a degree, if you sort of knew the relationships things would have, then you could sort of work out all of the human geography and things like that, and you could work out all the ways weather and stuff like that work. Like, that was the only other majoritively non-mathematical subject that I took, other than English, but I was never any good at that. And English was more just sort of, I don't even know how to describe English as a language. And even if I did, I'd probably just insult everyone that takes it to a much higher level. But yeah, I could get scores really, really easily. And I'm not sort of bragging about that or trying to put down people who can't, because that's not what I'm trying to say. What I'm trying to say is the misrepresentation. Like, someone could have to try really, really hard and know absolutely everything about a language to get the same result as me that's just remembering what I read yesterday. And it's not fair. It's not an adequate representation. And that ends up being fine, because you can't get anything out of it anyway, because you've been told from such an early age that you need to get all of this education, and then when you get to the point where you need to use that, I mean, yeah, I guess you're further ahead than someone that hasn't got it, but then what if that person ended up with a first job? That first job that you couldn't get because you had to spend so much time on your education. And now they've got 3 years of work experience, whereas you've got 3 years worth of education. Like, how does that add up? I mean, it's fairly unmeasurable, and to different jobs and things like that, it'd have different effects, so you can't just sort of go, well, yes, that's quite clearly 2.3 times more effective. Like, no, it doesn't work like that. But as a 21st birthday I've done coming up, I'm soon going to be 21, a big milestone in my life and all of this. I sort of look back at it and I sort of think I've dedicated all of my life at the moment to education. I'm still doing so, and if I can't get a job after my degree, I'm going to have to keep doing so for a much longer time. And even so, I'm going to be 21 when my current course finishes. 21, I'm going to be 22 when my current course finishes. Almost, anyway. It'll be like a couple of weeks difference. And how far is that going to get me? What if it doesn't get me far enough? Makes you sort of wonder for everyone else in my position as well. Everyone else is sort of the same age. Life expectancy is, what, 80? So we've spent a quarter of our lives so far. It sort of makes you think, what are we actually doing with all of that time?